The playful squirrel accidentally fell into the pool and almost drowned. Squirrel guy lay on the ground motionless and had lost consciousness. Fortunately, a passerby noticed it. He tried gently pressing Squirrel's body. He wanted to save this poor squirrel guy. But no matter how he pressed, the squirrel showed no response. Looking at that round belly, it seemed to have swallowed a lot of water. So the guy picked up the squirrel and hung it upside down on a pipe. This kept squirrel guy in a head-down position for easier rescue. Then he continuously pressed on the squirrel's abdomen, hoping to help it expel the water from its belly. During this time, the guy kept cheering and encouraging the squirrel, hoping the squirrel wouldn't give up easily. But the guy was busy for a good 10 minutes or so. Squirrel on the pipe remained completely still, showing no reaction. The bystanders believed that squirrel could not be saved. They all advised the young man not to waste his efforts on it. However, just when the young man felt incredibly disappointed and was about to give up, he suddenly became ecstatic and started shouting excitedly. Because he seemed to see Squirrel's body move slightly, he confidently told everyone that Squirrel was definitely still alive. So he began to press on Squirrel's body again. Unexpectedly, under the young man's relentless efforts, Squirrel actually started breathing again. Although it was still incredibly weak, lying on the pipe, it was already possible to clearly see Squirrel's body gently rising and falling. This indicated that Squirrel had a chance of coming back to life. It's hard to imagine that he really pulled it back from the brink of death. Then the young man gently adjusted the squirrel's position by turning the water pipe. At this moment, Squirrel limbs were stiff and he hadn't fully regained consciousness. At this time, the young man didn't dare to act rashly. The only thing he could do was silently keep it company. As time passed, the squirrel began to recover a bit. Seeing this, the young man quickly moved it to his waist pouch. The pouch was soft and comfortable, allowing the squirrel to recover better. At this point, the young man carefully observed its appearance. From its appearance, this guy should still be a juvenile squirrel. It probably fell into the pool while playing and fell from a high tree. Fortunately, the kind young man found it and offered help. Otherwise, the fate awaiting the squirrel could be imagined. At this time, the squirrel's belly was noticeably much smaller. Its breathing was no longer as rapid as it had been at first. The body was still very stiff, occasionally twitching slightly. The young man didn't know if Squirrel could get through this tough time. The only thing he could do now was to stand by and wait silently. During this time, he occasionally moved Squirrel's paws to see if it would react and ensure it was okay. To his surprise, Squirrel, despite being very tired, still made an effort to move its body, trying to respond to the young man. It seemed to be telling him that it was feeling much better now. Just let me rest for a while longer. In this way, the young man silently guarded for more than half an hour. Squirrel finally regained consciousness and woke up. It was seen making an effort to try to turn over. It blinked hard, wanting to see the kind person who rescued it. When it saw the young man's face, the squirrel's eyes were filled with gratitude. Suddenly, Squirrel forcefully flipped over its originally supine body, but this seemed to exhaust all its remaining energy. Afterwards, it continued to lie on the mat, adjusting its condition. As time passed, Squirrel's condition improved more and more. Its originally lifeless eyes finally regained a glimmer of spirit. Although Squirrel consciousness had fully returned, its waterlogged body was still quite weak and unable to move. So Squirrel adjusted to a more comfortable position. During this time, it would occasionally lift its head to look at the young man. It seemed to want to deeply imprint the appearance of its savior in its mind. Watching Squirrel's strength gradually return, the young man's anxious heart finally relaxed. He gently patted this poor squirrel creature. Tell Squirrel not to be afraid and to rest well. I will always be by its side. Another hour passed just like that. At this moment, Squirrel had finally fully regained its strength. It had regained control of its body and could move freely. Surprisingly, the newly revived squirrel did not leave immediately. Instead, it stumbled out of the mat and came to the young man's side. Squirrel guy kept circling around the young man. Then it stopped next to the young man, reluctant to leave. It seemed to be expressing its sincerest gratitude to its savior in this way. In the end, it was the young man who urged Squirrel to hurry home. The mother squirrel who lost her child must be very worried. Only then did Squirrel reluctantly run towards home. At this point, one can't help but marvel that everything has a spirit. The young man finally breathed a sigh of relief after watching the squirrel gradually disappear into the distance. He felt happy to have saved the drowning squirrel. In life there are still many people who love animals, right guys? If you like animal stories, please subscribe to my channel.